Hey everybody, Gonix Gaming here and some more Space Engineers on the Xbox for you. This one is not going to be part of our Xbox Noob Guide tutorials. This is going to be a completely different one-off. For now, it could be a one-off. It could kind of build into more if you wanted to. You guys let me know down in the comments. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into the different starting places for the solar system, right? The star system. So when you come into here and you go into custom and all the way down to star system, there are a couple of different options for landing pods. We're going to go ahead and jump in here and do those. And we're not going to name this anything, but it's for survival clearly. And we're going to jump into this and we're going to see the different landing pods. And we're going to go over all of those and their difficulties. Alright, so we have the different options here. We have the Earthlike Drop Pod, we have the Moon Drop Pod, we have the Mars Drop Pod, the Space Pod, and then the Space Suit. There's 5 different options here. If you watch my other tutorial, the Noob Guide, it's the Earth-like Drop Pod. It's the easiest of them all. Also gives you a nice, easy planet to land on to work with. I am not going to do that one. If you want me to, I can. But I would recommend going to see my Noob Guide because I do the Earth-like Drop Pod in that one, and you can kind of see there. You can also see like a starting point and how to get a base going and things like that. We're going to kind of make that a series that goes into every single little detail of how the buttons work on the controller as well for Xbox, which is very complex. But to kind of keep this moving along, we're going to go ahead and do the Moon Drop Pod first, and then we'll move into the other ones. Moon Drop Pod. So here we go. We are on the moon here, and we're kind of rolling away, or we're moving away, it looks like, right? So let's take a look here. You can see we are moving. If we hit the little Y key there, we can the Y button, we can lock our wheels and everything else. But you have this little moon pod, which is kind of like a rover, right? It's a moon rover, basically, is what it is. This is probably I want to call this one the third easiest one to start with. I think Earth is the easiest, and I'd like to say that this one is not second, but third easiest. Mars is almost as easy as Earth, and I'll go into that when I get to Mars. But this thing here is pretty interesting. It's a little kind of rover, right? It's built a little bit differently. It doesn't have, it has the wheels on it. It doesn't have the open cockpit on it. It does have lights. It does have the atmospheric thrusters on it, though, so you can kind of enable it to fly, and also has the hydrogen thruster on the bottom of it, so you can kind of make your way over these big, huge moon dunes, if you want, or mountains, or whatever you want to call them. Hit the X to get back into the cockpit when you point at it, and then we'll hit that Y key, and we'll get this guy rolling. So using your left stick, you can kind of move and turn left and right and drive. It will float if you go too fast over some of these little dunes here, because it's the moon, right? And it has no gravity. So, I mean, this here is pretty cool. You can kind of go along. You can see there at the bottom of the screen there towards the back of the rover, you'll see iron and ice. The ore detector is on this, so you can kind of find good material right away. Like, you can find like a good place to kind of land. Like, here's a nice little flat area, right? We know iron is not very far off, so it might be a good spot to kind of start right here and kind of lock your place in, and boom, jump out, and there you go. There you have it. This is a nice flat area to work with. The only thing you're going to kind of have to work on finding is that ice, and we did see the ice too, right? When we were looking, we did come across some ice. There's other signals here as well. There's a UVAL beacon. That's a friendly beacon, and there's another one over here, which is IMHS. I don't remember the breakdowns for all of these, but because they're white, they're friendly. So if you see red ones, you want to stay away from those. The white ones are friendly. You can go to them. You're not going to have much access to anything but like a store. You do have some credits on you to buy some stuff, but I mean, you can kind of get rolling here because you do have the survival kit to kind of manufacture some basic stuff, right? So that is your moon lander right there, your moon drop pod with the kind of rover on, which is cool. You can kind of move around and get around a little bit. You do have some decent battery in there, but you can get a base going, find a nice area where you can find some iron or ice, and ice is going to be important to keep your oxygen levels up. You're going to go through oxygen a lot faster here than you would anywhere else, which again kind of adds the difficulty to it. That's why I say it's a 3 instead of like a 2 on the list as far as easy goes. All right, so here we are back at our list, and the next on the list is the Mars Drop Pod. Let's jump into that one. And just like your Earth Drop Pod, you have your Mars Drop Pod, which is kind of the same thing, right? Same sort of deal. You're landing on Mars instead here, and you're kind of going to find a landing spot. The parachute will jump out, pop out, and you will land on Mars. A little bit less gravity than Earth, of course, but you still more gravity than the moon per se. You have the same exact landing pod as you did in the Earth one. It's an open pod there. You have the atmospheric thrusters, and the hydrogen thruster on the bottom. To me, you can kind of build this the same way we're doing in our noob guide, where we knock out some of these thrusters, build some thrusters on the top, build a remote control and a gyroscope, and then kind of find your way along. But because Mars is so flat, I kind of think that being right here is good to go, right? You can start right here. You have stone and rock right underneath you. You don't have to go very far to find anything. If you can see off into the distance there, those little whitish areas are kind of like resources. So we'll hit Y to turn on our pack. We'll fly up a little bit, and you can see right over that way is like those whitish spots in the ground. Those should be resources for you that you can use. This kind of has the same deal as the moon. You may see beacons that kind of spawn in here and there. We don't see any here. I've done this about 4 or 5 times with Mars just to see how it kind of starts off. This is not a bad area. It's nice and flat. But sometimes you'll find a beacon with like a base of some sort of faction that you can kind of go to. But what we're going to do is we're going to drop down because we don't want to use all of our hydrogen here. And we're going to run on out to... Ooh. Didn't hurt myself in that fall, but I'm gonna make my way out to those to that whitish area to see what kind of resources we have there. When you pull out your drill, it turns on the ore detector, which gives you, I think, like a 15-meter radius or a 25-meter radius. All right, so here we are. Yep, we can see we have some ice right there, which is pretty cool. It's about 52 meters out, so we got a decent range on this thing. There's some magnesium right there that just popped in. So we got magnesium over here, from what we can tell, and more magnesium. Very magnesium-rich area right here with all these white spots. But we do have ice, which is good. That to me is huge early on in the game, right? You could use rocks, regular stone to kind of get things going. It'll be slow going with stone if you don't have the actual material that you need, but ice is kind of paramount, right? You can kind of do anything with that. You build a basic, like we're doing in the new guide on Earth. You get yourself an O2H2 generator going, you throw ice into it, and you're good to go. You kind of slowly build your way. It's going to be a grind, but to me a lot easier than the moon because there's more gravity here, and you don't have as many hills and dunes to deal with. Whoa, we're gonna fly right into our thing. I wanted to go to the other side over here quickly just to see what was over in this patch of area, and we'll drop down slowly this time instead of dropping down fast and hurting ourselves. So here's some gold. We got some gold underneath us, which will be valuable to sell if you do find a faction. You can sell the gold and make some decent coin from that. This looks like it's a gold-rich area, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much Mars, folks. On to the next one. All right, so here we are back at our list. The next one on the list is the Space Pod. And there we go. You discovered galactic commerce. We are in the Space Pod. You are literally in a ship. So you can kind of fly around, and you are out in the middle of space. No joke. Just smack dab in the middle of space. You should be able to find a couple of planets or moons close by. You will definitely find some rocks like that in the middle of nowhere too. This one looks like it does have a faction on it, so you can go to there. It's a beacon there, GCCO. And then there was anything down here? Nope, there's nothing down there. But you're literally on a ship. So let's take a look at this thing. Let's get out of the flight seat. And yeah, there you go. We're on a ship, right? Literal ship. You have a survival kit here, so you can do some work here. Whoop, there's not much room in there. We're upside down now because we're not locked. Clearly, our boots are not locked in. Oh, there we go. I thought the gravity was turned on here, but I guess not. All right, we're literally upside down. That's fine. I could deal with being upside down. We are now outside the ship. Here is a nice large cargo container for yourselves, and you can either go to one of the planets, or you can go to that little rock there and get some resources. You do have your drill. You do have your welder, and you do have your grinder, right? So inventory-wise, you have nothing else. But like I said, you have this kind of nice little ship here. I'll take a kind of gander around it, look all the way around. There is the cockpit there, right there. So there's the flight seat, and then you have the rest of the ship here, which has a docking port on it. So you can, I think it's a docking port on here. There's a nice gyroscope on there, huge gyroscope. It's got thrusters on there, huge thrusters. Let's drop down below. There's a port here somewhere. There it is. Yep, I knew there's a port on here somewhere. So there's a port here, which you can kind of go in and out of, getting resources, an O2 H2 generator. So this guy is kind of fully ready to go. It's a big one too. Look at this guy, kind of going all the way across. It's huge. It's huge, folks. Anyway, let's get back up. And then there's a conveyor in there. But yeah, nice little ship. This one here is pretty hard to get going because you're going to have to find a place to kind of land, and then you're going to have to rely on your ship for a long time until you really kind of get going, I guess is the word, right? Until you're really settled in and you get going pretty good. Other than that, but yeah, that's the ship. We're in it. We're in it to win it. What if we could do a roll on this thing? I don't think we need to do a roll though. But anyway, moving on to the next one. So last but not least is the spacesuit. This is by far the hardest of the 5. The space pod is the second hardest. Spacesuit is the hardest. And you spawn literally in the middle of space. And that's it. You were just floating out here, folks. Just floating out here in the middle of nowhere. You'll definitely find a lot of kind of rocks or meteors or whatever you want, asteroids you want to call them. There should be a planet when you spawn. Every time I've spawned so far, it's about 6 times. I always have some sort of planet or moon or something like that that's close by. I don't see any beacons out here. We're going to have to try to figure that out for ourselves. But this is literally the hardest one to start on. You want to be able to try to find a beacon of some sort when you're doing this one, because you don't have any way of making stuff. You have no survival kit. You have no nothing. So you're going to rely on your jetpack, and you want to be super careful with this jetpack. You want to get yourself up to speed, and I mean really get yourself up to speed and head towards something, point towards something and go for it. Get it up to 110 meters per second, the speed, right? And you're going to hold down the LB button and then hit the Y. That turns off your dampers. I don't know if you saw that there in the bottom left. The dampers are off next to your speed meter, and that's going to keep you from slowing down to 0. You want to be able to kind of float through space and spare your hydrogen reserves as much as possible, because you have nothing on you. You have no tanks. You have nothing but your tools. So your grinder, your drill, and your welder. But very important to remember this piece of it here. Your energy is going to go down. Your oxygen is going to go down. As long as you don't hit anything or come across a pirate that's going to shoot at you in the middle of space, you should be okay. But you want to head towards something, anything, to help you out. Hopefully you're heading towards a planet that has some sort of station on it, a beacon of some sort where you can at least regenerate your power, or have something where you can kind of make some stuff, or a store that you can sell stuff in or buy stuff from, right? You're going to have to spend some coins and buy some things to get yourself rolling. Literally the hardest thing to start with is just your spacesuit in the middle of nowhere. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to get to this rock here, this planet, moon, whatever it is, and see if we can find anything so I can kind of show you like at least a beacon or a base of some sort from a faction or something. Alright, just want to kind of check in here with you guys a little bit just to let you know where we're at. I've literally been floating through space for 3 minutes now. We are passing by a couple of meteors here, or asteroids, or whatever you want to call them. Just rocks in space. We saw a beacon once before. It was red, so it was a pirate who would most likely shoot at us and try to kill us. My hydrogen is still at 100%. You can see my energy and my oxygen going down. I'm still at 110 meters per second. And I turned off my thrusters altogether. I don't need them. We were literally using the momentum that we had to fly through space and hoping that we come across a friendly beacon, more or less. And we have to do so before our energy or our O2 runs out. Because if it does, we are dead in space, literally, and we have to start over. It is the most brutal way to start this game. And like I said, this has been 4 minutes now that we are literally floating through space. When I started this and I got to speed and I left you guys, I literally got up, walked away, grabbed some cookies and a glass of milk, and came back and sat down, and here I am. You can go AFK and just hope that you don't run across pirates while you're floating through space to the planet. Oh, there is a friendly beacon right there. It's a mining transport. We can literally change our direction and go towards that if we want to. And that might be beneficial to us. Let's see what we get. That's actually something to start with. It's better than nothing. Alright, so now we're a little less than 2 kilometers away from this thing. We're going to be coming up on it pretty quickly. You want to turn your dampeners back on at some point to slow your speed down. So you can see it slowed down significantly right there. You want to make sure your dampeners are on when you're starting to approach these transports, because otherwise you're just going to crash right into it, or you're going to fly right by it. So now we're just a few hundred meters away from it, 400 meters away from it, and it's got its thrusters going. And you can see he's trying to maneuver through space. We might be able to... You discovered righteous excavators. And there's another good signal right there, too. You can see now it's starting to kind of get away from us a little bit. We might be able to board this thing at least. And then, I don't know if you're going to be able to take it over in any way. They're not going to let you into their faction, I'm pretty sure. And we can't even get into them. So, we are locked out of this ship. So, yeah, I mean, there's a military escort right there. I'm not going to be able to get into that one either. They're floating away from us. They're going away from us now. They were no use to us. We couldn't get inside. It didn't give us access. Sometimes it happens. Some of them do give you access. They let you in, and you're able to kind of get around them. But that one was not going to be helpful in that regard to us to let us in. So we're kind of stuck there unless we want to make our way back towards the planet. Here's a military escort. It's probably more the same. But anyway, folks, that's kind of what this looks like for the spacesuit. This is the hardest one. I definitely spent the most time on this one. More time than I really wanted to be honest with you. But I kind of wanted to show you something of it to show you how difficult it can be. And that there is a possibility to start off this way, but it's very, very hard to get yourself rolling. So anyway, leave your comments below, like I said before, and let me know what you think. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. Please leave a like. It helps the channel out. And I will see you guys in the next one. What the fuck am I going to do out here in the middle of nowhere? I'm thirsty. I think I got to pee.